September 4th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, death.
Let's do this. All right, so I've been trying to find a video game podcast other than Dave and Joel, which doesn't really count as a video game podcast. I mean, I guess they review video games, but they don't tell me what games are coming out or anything like that. So I guess the one that I tried most recently was the one that goes along with that magazine we got for free, the EGM whatever.
But that's a terrible magazine.
It was a terrible magazine, and the podcast also kind of terrible. I'm probably not going to listen to any more of it.
Great.
But the one episode that I just happened to listen to is my trying out episode, the most recent one. They talked to this guy who made this new PS3 game called Lair. And basically the reviewer who did the review, I guess, in the magazine, chatted with the guy who made the game and was like, yeah, this is why your game sucks. And the guy was like, nah, you're just seeing it that way because you're hardcore and my game is not for the hardcore, blah, blah, blah. And they argued about how, I guess, the game forces you to use the 6-axis business, but the control is fucked up. And the game is, non-linear, but at the same time, it's hard to actually figure out what the hell's going on. And sometimes the game just fucks you and whatever. I never played the game. I'm probably never going to play the game, so I don't care about any of that. The point is, I got two things. Number one, most of this guy's argument was that you're so hardcore, that's why the game doesn't work for you. The game works for the non-hardcore. And I'm like, dude, it's a PS3 only game. What the fuck were you thinking?
Nah.
You made a game supposedly for the non-hardcore on the PS3 only? What are you thinking? That's just not going to happen. There's no one who has a PS3 who isn't ultra hardcore. So if you put a game out for the PS3 that's for the non-hardcore, everyone's either going to buy it and hate it or not buy it. I don't know.
I'm with you there. What's number two?
Number two is that people freaking with these review scores, I gotta say it again.
Back in the day, PC Gamer had the only good review system ever because they gave bad ratings to a lot of games.
I mean, supposedly this is a bad game, and the guy gave it like a 4.5 or a 5 or something, which he said is average. I'm like, it sounds to me like you're saying this game was bad, but yet you gave it an average score?
Well, maybe he's going on an absolute scale where a 2 or a 3 would be like Custer's Revenge, and maybe a 1 would be that one with the witch.
All right, but the way he describes this game is at least 3, not 5.
I don't know.
Also, people who make games and people, I guess, who care about video game magazines and people who work at video game magazines take these scores way too seriously.
Well, I think part of it is just that in the video game industry, the video game press is almost complete bullshit. And I don't really have a lot of respect for people who pay those ratings a lot of credence because they're usually super inflated and they're really not that useful.
Yeah, and I guess it seems like there's some false belief that the ratings have something to, like, if you get a good ratings on your game, that somehow translates into like big sales. You know what, people? That's bullshit. If Halo 1 got, say, I don't know, 5s instead of 10s, it would have sold just as many. If Halo 3 gets all 1s from every magazine, guess what? A bajillion people are still going to buy it.
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, among gamers, I think the actual primary factor in selling a game is word of mouth and not any other factor. I think that is the primary thing that sells games to gamers.
Yeah.
But
if websites are chatting up a game for good or bad,
you can't forget that a lot of the people who buy games are not gamers. They're mommies buying games for little Billy.
In which case, they're not looking at a video game magazine at all. They go to the store and look at the shelf.
Oh, so I guess the video game press is just complete crap.
Well, at least the reviewing and the scoring and such.
Well, what part of it's non-crap?
The letting you know what games are coming out.
But I can find that out from press releases and blogs and stuff.
That's press.
Yeah, but people write articles about it, and the articles they just say more things, like, the game's going to come out on X day. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you can cut out those blahs. I just need game is coming out on X day.
It is kind of interesting that, to me, the only people I trust at all when it comes to game reviews are Penny Arcade and, to a much lesser extent, Dave and Joel.
I think what it is you need reviews. Reviews are a lot more useful with something like movies because there's a lot fewer of them, right? And you're going to go to the movie theater and you got to sort of pick which one.
But even then, I ignore reviews and I go on word of mouth. If all my friends say a movie's terrible, I wait for Netflix.
Yeah, I know. But it is slightly more useful. But with video games, I think it's not useful because you have like a bajillion games out there, and it's not like you're gonna buy a video game, which one? It's like, I'm gonna buy Metroid. It's like, once you know about the game, you buy it. You don't need like these reviews to tell you which ones are what. You know which ones are what if you're in it, and if you're not in it, you're going to the store and looking at the covers and picking one out. So the review's not so useful.
I don't know. I could see reviews having been useful back in the day when, well, maybe just like more mainstream money, like a magazine review or a big company doing a review, because back then, the internet wasn't quite what it is now, and that was the only way to find out about a new game. But now, it's not necessary.
Especially the score.
I think it'd be a lot better if reviews were just, whoever's writing the review saying, here are my thoughts on this game. I like this, I didn't like this, I think this part won't appeal to you people, I think this part will appeal to you kind of people, and not bother with the score at the end. I mean, what if we did that in anime? Like, yeah, I give Cowboy Bebop a 9.7 out of 10.1.
Whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Mostly, I just want to say the guy's a doofus because he's like, yeah, the game's for the non-hardcore on the PS3 only.
I think that's the part that really needs to be brought out into the open.
I think also. And I think it was a funny coincidence that I listened to one episode of a bad podcast. Well, it wasn't the worst podcast, but I'm not listening to it anymore.
We know what the worst podcast is.
The Penny Arcade happened to be about the same thing as the episode.
Well, it helped that they could make a pretty good joke based on the title of the game.
Yeah, it did help indeed.
I'll admit I lolled.
Yeah.
Right, so basically all I've been doing for the last week is playing Natural Selection as much as I can.
Way to go.
Now that I got a gaming PC again, I think like, I should play all these new games.
But you're playing this game that your old PC could have played.
Yeah, but I didn't. My old PC had other problems. Remember, the video card was dead? I was using your old busted TNT 2.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. That TNT 2 could play Natural Selection.
Barely.
It could play Half-Life 1 just fine.
Barely.
It could do it.
The thing was, I got new games now. I got BioShock. I got to play that.
You didn't buy the whole game, did you?
Oh, I bought it.
Oh, the whole game?
I'm going to play it. I really like it.
All right.
The thing is,
I might buy it then.
I haven't played it yet because I just keep playing. Every time, it's like I have this process, a queue, where my brain will cycle through when I sit down in front of the computer and I think, all right, I'm going to play a video game on my computer. And my brain goes, all right, you're going to play Tribes 2. And I say, brain, Tribes 2 is not playable anymore. I'm sorry. And it goes, shit, I got to ask. All right, fine, you're going to play Natural Selection, right? And I go, yeah. And I never get to any other games.
So I forced myself to put the games in a queue. I mean, I just beat Paper Mario, and now I'm playing the Metroid Prime, the new one on the Wii. And then I'm probably, when that's done, I'll either do the BioShock or the System Shock 2 in I don't know what order. And then, but the thing is, when the orange box comes out, everything else is getting pushed aside.
Oh, I'm taking the day off work when Team Fortress 2 comes out.
Because I also got to play Half-Life 2 Episode 2.
You know what? I got enough vacation days. I'll take the week off. As soon as the game comes out, I'll spend the next 7 days becoming the god of it.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. But, so I got my games all lined up in a row, and there's like a space for, Phantom Hourglass and the DS games can go in addition because I can play them on the train.
You see, I had that and I was cool with that, but now I have a problem. One, it's really more related to Monday nights, but kind of to prove that they're worthless and also kind of because my company doesn't seem to understand that they're not terribly useful, I'm getting all the Cisco certs. Like, I'm just going to get them all. And I'm signed up for all the tests and everything, but I gotta look over Cisco iOS on the train. And I bought a portable DVD player, so I spent today watching Mutiny on the Bounty from 1935 instead of reading anything.
All right, way to go for you.
I haven't even beaten Pokemon, and I don't think I will for another year now.
Oh, you still didn't beat that,
No, I just stopped trying. I've been doing other stuff, and I feel bad. I never even beat the second Phoenix Wright. I just stopped.
Yeah. Oh, well. So, what's in the video game news here?
Well, it turns out that on the 12th anniversary of one of the more revolutionary games in PC gaming, we can now get that game for free in its original form. That game is, in fact, Command & Conquer.
Well, it's Command & Conquer Gold, which is the slightly improved version of the original Command & Conquer.
Whatever.
Yeah.
While I'm not good at that game, and
I'm not good at any RTSs.
Well, I don't really like RTSs, to be honest. I like the idea.
The thing is, I like them. I just suck so badly at them, and also some of them I don't. It's sort of like I like some parts, but I don't like others. Like I like the idea of build a bunch of stuff, get a bunch of upgrades, select units, send them out to do stuff. What I don't like is the fact that it boils down to more fast clicking and knowing the order to build stuff than it boils down to strategy.
Well, for me, it's just that I was never good at the games, partly because it did just boil down to the fast clicking and knowing exactly what to do. And I wanted to do like I remember when I first played the game multiplayer with other people over my null modem cable and then with my modem dialing into their phone. We'd set it up and we'd play. And I'd be like, all right, so I'd make a group of tanks and infantry, and I'd put them in one group, like, to the side. Then I'd make another group of, like, grenadiers and something else, and I'd try to, like, set an ambush and have, like, a pincer attack. And while I'm setting all this up, my friend just made a bunch of tanks and clicked on my base.
Yep.
And that wasn't fun. And also, why won't the infantry just kind of sidestep my harvester? Why do they just sit there and get crushed?
I don't know.
That pissed me off so much.
It did. It was pretty sucky. Except when you did it on purpose for funniness. Or use your harvester to squish enemy infantry.
So, back in the day, I was playing this game with a friend of mine named Ken. We had 2 computers in my house, the Pentium Pro 200 and the 486 SX2. They were connected via a serial null modem cable, and we had Command & Conquer installed on both. Now, the 486 had a problem with the mouse driver, where about once a week, the mouse would suddenly go batshit and just fly around the 4 corners of the screen and freak out, and you couldn't do anything, and if you hit any keys on the keyboard, nothing happened, and just chaos. But it only happened like once a week, once a month, so I kind of ignored it. So we're playing, and the game's going on pretty well, Command & Conquer. And suddenly...
Commanding and the conquering.
Yeah, Ken says, "What the fuck? The mouse stopped working. I can't play the fucking game. What the fuck's wrong with your computer, Rim?" And without missing a beat, I turn to him and say, "Well, I guess it's just Conquer for you." Anyway,
No.
I like this game, even though I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, the single player is actually kind of fun, which is weird for a game that should be an RTS.
Well, it had that thing where you could play as the good guys or the bad guys.
Well, it came with 2 CDs, the good guys CD and the bad guys CD.
And they were kind of really different, and it was super fun. I liked
It was
playing.
like 2 games in one.
I was better at the good guys, but I always wanted to be the bad guys.
Yeah,
Partly
no,
because
the bad guys had cooler stuff.
Yeah, and I think TIE Fighter did that to me, because TIE Fighter was a much better game than X-Wing.
Yeah. But the thing about this version of Command & Conquer is they're basically giving you the original ISOs for the Windows 95 version, and then they give you this patch file, and then they give you this instructions document of how to make it work in Windows XP, and it's not trivial, but you can do it.
Yeah, and
Also, the download is really slow.
And we don't think the online play will work, because if you recall, you had to do the Westwood whatever to make it work.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of... there's no internet play, that's for sure, but there might be LAN play, who knows?
Well, regardless, if anything, I have a 50-foot null modem cable, and Scott and I both have serial ports.
We'll see about that.
That would be kind of awesome.
Not. So, in other news, there are other free games available for the PC now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, not really free, but Ubisoft or Ubisoft or however you want to pronounce it. Ubisoft, whatever. They are putting some of their old crappy PC games, well, not so much crappy, but older, not so old. They got the Rayman Raving Rabbids, the Far Cry, the original.
Wait a minute, didn't that game just come out on the Wii or something?
I think so, but
So how were they releasing it for free?
it's on the PC.
Oh.
The PC version. It's I guess a different game with the same name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just ignored that
Yeah,
game.
the
to be
original
honest.
Far Cry, which is like 3 or 4 years old, and that the first 3D Prince of Persia for the PC, they're also giving that away for free.
I'll admit, I never played any of those games.
Yeah, but I played the first Prince of Persia 3D. I played like 2 levels of it, but none of the others. Anyway, you can get these games for free on File Planet, which is sort of not free because using File Planet is like, even if you wait in the line to get the gate to download for free, it's so painful that it's as painful as like spending $50.
There was only one game in the history of gaming that ever got me to use File Planet, and that was Tribes 2.
Yep. But also, in addition to these games being PC games being free to download and free to play, they're loaded up with ads. Yeah, it's not such a bad business decision to say, hey, we've got these old games. We're not making any money off of them, right? We could just let people pirate them and give them away for free to be nice.
Or we could do the id thing and sell them.
Or we can load them up with ads for free and then continue to make money off them even though they're old and we're not making any money off them anymore.
I'd rather they sell them for $5.
I would rather sell them for $5. And plus, these games are old and in the bargain bin. You can just get them for $5 or $10. And if these games were worth playing, back in the day, then I would have spent $50 on them. If they were worth playing now, I would have spent $5 or $10 on them. The game is either worth my time or it's not.
You're forgetting one important thing.
What?
There was a time in my life when I had more free time than things with which to fill it.
Yeah.
And I remember I would play a lot of games that nowadays I wouldn't even consider. But back then, I wanted to play a game, and I already got sick of Civ 2 and TIE Fighter and X-Wing and Quest for Glory and all my NES games and all my SNES games, and I already run around outside. So I just go to the store, buy whatever $5 game was there, and just play it.
Yeah, but I'd rather spend $5 than wait in line at File Planet and then look at ads while I'm playing.
Actually, that's the word. Even the ads in the game, while I wouldn't play it because of that, File Planet's really the only thing that's bad about this. File Planet is like the worst website in the world.
Yeah, it is a good business idea to continue making money off of your old games that you spent all this money making, and now they're not making any more money for you. But I don't think it's something I would ever go and get.
You gotta do it in a more clever way. Either sell the game straight up in like a super giant package of a
you
million
got to. That's what you got to do. You got to do it like ID did. That's the better way to go.
Or give
sell
them away.
every Quake ever and every Doom ever and every game you've ever made for like a $60.
Or give them away as a bundle bonus pack that comes with, I don't know, 2 or 3 new games you're selling.
Oh,
Or anything like that.
that wouldn't be a bad idea. If like when you came out with new game, like what you could do is you could just like
Or even better, make it like the first 5,000 people who buy this game get the bonus pack, like Nintendo did. That's a really good idea. I didn't like it.
That's an idea.
but-
If I was a video game company, right, making big games, you only come out with a game like every few years, right? So I'd sell the first game $50. Then a few years later, when I finally come out with another game, I will give you the first game for free with the new game. And then give you the first 2 games for free.
You gotta
with the
watch
third
out.
Game.
What if canny gamers think, fine, I'll just play your game, I'll wait, and then...
That's fine. They eventually have to buy. And when new games come out, they eventually have to buy.
Nah.
So, they might buy every other year, every other game to try to, get big discounts on half the games, but they're going to have to buy eventually. Plus, I could always be like, every time I come out with a new game, I could be like, buy just my new game for $50. Buy my new game and all my old games I've developed before for $70. Something like that.
Things of the day.
I'm sure everyone knows about my thing of the day already, mostly because it was so awesome I had to post it in places.
Yes, in fact, I actually have already used it to make a bunch of things for Geeknights that you'll be seeing shortly.
Basically, it's a generator, as there are many generators on the internet, such as the, lolcat generators and haha guy.
The haha guy is my favorite. I spent like a week just making an infinite number of those things.
So someone made a Atari game cartridge label generator. It makes labels in the style of the labels that go on Atari game cartridges.
Well, Atari 2600 game cartridges.
Yes. And I'm wondering, why aren't there NES label makers or SNES label makers?
I think part of it is that the Atari, Nintendo, while the shape was always the same, all the actual labels were so different that there's really nothing to...
Well, no, but you could go with the old style,
Well,
there were some Atari games that had different style labels on
Very
them.
few. But all Nintendo games, just the graphics were totally... The only thing that was the same was the shape. But the Atari one, and the Nintendo seal of quality, which we can't legally put on.
No.
But the Atari games, they
Even
all
though
said...
these let you put the Atari trademark on there.
Yeah, but you take it off if you're going to do something big or real.
Yeah.
And also, Atari, not quite the same as Nintendo when it comes to lawyering.
No, well, they're owned by someone these days. It keeps changing, but the point is, if you want to make Atari cartridge labels, this is pretty damn cool because there's a lot of uses of them, and you can make some funny ones. Like, what would be funny if it was an Atari cartridge?
I don't know, BioShock?
Nah, BioShock for Atari. That's a good one. All right.
Or maybe if we made some sort of Geeknights logo that kind of looked like an Atari cartridge.
Yeah, maybe.
Huh.
All right.
Right. So my thing of the day, I'm not really going to talk about it because it's quite germane to the topic at hand, but it is essentially a speed run of the game we are about to review.
Oh.
So, and if you haven't played this game or you want to hear the music from the game a little bit, watch a little bit of this, but don't watch too much if you ever plan to play the game because you're going to ruin it for yourself. You're going to ruin the delightful trial and error discovery of how to win the game known as
The game has some gates, and I guess it has some shadows, but the name Shadowgate, I guess, is just the name of the castle, right? It's Castle Shadowgate.
Well, as far as I know, this was a port of a PC game.
Was it? I never heard of that.
Yeah, these games were originally, and I say these games because for those of you who played NES games, you know that there were other games a lot like Shadowgate, like Deja Vu, a personal favorite, The Uninvited.
Was The Uninvited for the NES?
Yeah.
All right.
Shadowgate 64.
Shadowgate 64. My brother rented that for the 64 once, and that's a game that's so bad, it's like MD Geist bad.
Wait a minute, yeah, I don't think you needed to say Shadowgate 64 that my brother rented for the 64.
Oh, no.
I don't think Shadowgate 64 came out in the Atari 2600.
There were games that were 64 that weren't for...
Name one.
It could have been for the... It could have been
The Jaguar?
It could have been, yeah, it could have been for some other system.
Like what? The Jaguar. That's it. Anyway, these games were part of something called the Mac Venture series on the Mac.
Oh, news to me.
And it's pretty easy to port a game like this to the NES because there's really no control. You just hover around a little skeleton finger or gauntlet finger and click on menus.
Yeah, it kind of sucks to play these games in the NES because they're designed to be run, with the mouse and the clicking, but instead you use the gamepad to move a finger around the screen.
From what I'm told, but I didn't play it on the Mac. People said that you actually use the keyboard to move the thing around on the Mac.
Oh, it's terrible.
A lot of games used to be like that.
But it is kind of handy though because it'll just when you move the hand like around the main part of the screen, it moves around slowly. But once you get it into the menus on the bottom and the right hand side of the screen, it just snaps to all the options and it's pretty easy to scroll through.
Yeah. Now, before we review this game or talk about it in any depth, I'm sure many of you have played it, and if you have, then I think you know what we're about to bring up. But this was a game that some might have called. Some words could be difficult, arbitrary, insane,
stupid,
painful.
Right.
I guess we could mime. Scott, I'll pretend that I am Shadowgate, and you try to do various actions in the game on me.
Oh, you're Shadowgate?
I'm Shadowgate. You stand, you see a door.
I look.
Death!
I don't think it's quite that bad.
I think Shadowgate is a game where every door, every torch, every pixel just is seething with death. And not just like, oh, you die, but really bizarre, elaborately described deaths. Ranging from, oh no, you're sucked out into the vacuum of space where you explode horribly, or you melt into the green slime you tried to walk across, or the dragon burns you, or you fall into the fire, or you punch yourself in the face until you die.
How long are you going to go on?
I think I could do a whole show just describing or reading all the deaths in that game.
Basically, when you play an adventure game like, say, I don't know...
Quest for Glory.
Grim Fandango, King's Quest,
Well,
Space
it depends,
Quest.
because, like, Police Quest in particular, you just fucking died all the time no matter what you did anyway.
It was possible to die in many of those games. However... most of the game was spent running around, collecting items, talking to people, and trying to figure out where to go to use your items to access a new area so you could, get further in the game.
I'll break it down even further. In those games, you would click like 5 or 6 times before you were presented with a situation that could possibly cause your death.
Yeah, you'd be like, trialing and erroring all over the place, and while you would have error didn't mean game over. Error meant, sorry, this isn't how to get further in the game, try something else.
Except in Police Quest, where if you open the door and walk around the wrong side of the police car, a car just hits you and kills you.
Yeah. And the games weren't free of death, but Shadowgate has a lot more death than any of the others. I mean, like, just picking up a torch off the wall, death. Opening a door, death. You go into a room, there's 4 doors, and there's no clues. You just open one, die. The Grim Reaper just shows up all sorts of randomly.
It's a lot like that scene in The Silver Surfer, that screen of him crying on his surfboard.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things you can do in the game where you won't progress further, but you also won't die. But there aren't many of them, and basically you have to figure out exactly what to do in the game to get ahead. And don't do anything else or deviate from that path whatsoever. And that's the only way to win, really.
All these games are one-shot plays, because once you have played through Shadowgate once, or Uninvited, or any of these, and you've beaten it, there's no reason to ever play again.
Because you know the exact sequence of steps necessary to beat the game. I mean, you watch this speedrun. The speedrun's really short, isn't it?
Actually, it is. It's like 10 minutes long.
Yeah, I played Shadowgate once in college. I had a FAQ on GameFAQs open on one screen and the ROM open on the other screen. And just I scrolled through the FAQ and did it. And it took me like 20 minutes. And it was just straight through, completely boring and blah. The only fun you're going to get from this game is from trialing and erroring and trying to figure it out. But that's going to be mad frustrating because you'll die all over the place.
It's not that... Well, let's fast forward back in time. I guess reverse would be better.
Back
or rewind.
to the future?
Back to the past. Well, I guess
ahead to the past?
If we fast forward back to the future... Anyway. So, I'm like 9 or however old I was when I owned this game. And it was frustrating, but... I don't know, maybe I'm alone in this, but I think a lot of you who played NES games would agree that there was this certain level of frustration where you wouldn't stop playing the game. It wasn't so frustrating that you'd say, fuck it, I'm just gonna break the game or sell it to my friend or not play it. But it wasn't so easy that you just beat it. It was just frustrating enough to where you'd think, all right, now I have to beat this game. I got to prove that I can beat it.
Well, I played Deja Vu a lot more than I played Shadowgate, but
it was a better game.
Yeah, it was. But I actually have Deja Vu 1 and 2 for the Game Boy Color, but I haven't played that. But
I never played 2.
Me either. But I bought it at GameStop for like $5 randomly.
I think I wanted
it was $3.
to buy it. I wanted it, but you bought it.
Whatever.
Lend it to me. I'll play him.
It's Game Boy Color. You need a SP or something. Anyway.
We got a bunch of SPs.
When I played that game, the way I played it is I would sit down and I would get like maybe 3 or 4 screens into the game or 5 screens into the game. And every time I played, I already knew everything I had to do up to a certain point. And then I would try different things. And basically, I just kept playing the game over and over and over. And each time I played, I knew everything I had to do up to a certain point of the game. So it was sort of like, it was almost as if I had the game saved, but I had to replay from the beginning every time because it was a Nintendo game.
Well, at least, I mean, we said, death all the time. When you die, you don't actually have to start over. All it does is like, one of your torches burns out or something, and your torches, whatever, you lose some torch power.
Oh, that is one thing interesting in Shadowgate, is that you have these torches, right?
I was going to get to that.
Oh, okay. So you have to keep a torch lit pretty much always almost, or else it gets dark and you can't see and bad things happen.
Well, if it's ever dark, if there's ever a moment where you are anywhere in the game and there's not a lit torch in the room or in your possession, you immediately die.
Yep, because the dark, horrible nasties come out and get you, but they're scared away by a small fire. So you have these supply of torches, and almost every room in the game has some torches lying around that you can take. But sometimes you'll take a torch and it'll actually be a lever that opens up something. Sometimes you take a torch and you'll die. Sometimes you'll take a torch and it won't be a normal torch. It'll be a special separate torch.
That's my favorite part in the game. Early on, right? You grab torches. So you've like torches.
Torch 1.
So it's like
2.
torches. I got 8 torches. And then I pick up this one torch and it just says torch on a separate line item. Huh.
Why do I have 10 torches, but this one torch that looked just like all the others?
I got 10 torches and 1 torch.
Yeah, it's like, what? Why is that?
Well, if you light that torch, death.
Oh, gee, gas.
But I'm going to spoil something. If you just decide to throw that torch at a wraith, it kills the wraith.
But throwing another torch doesn't.
Death. I love that game.
Yeah, so arbitrary.
The thing is, part of the fun is, to me, the game was fun in an exploration way, because especially if you didn't cheat. And it was really fun in this kind of, when I read Choose Your Own Adventure books as a kid, right? Nominally, I was trying to win, but more importantly, I was trying to get as many interesting, gruesome deaths as I could. And I basically sought out all the interesting deaths.
It is a lot like a very advanced Choose Your Own Adventure game. I mean, there's a part where like you run into a Sphinx and he's got some riddles for you. And like that's the kind of thing you'd see in a Choose Your Own Adventure book is like there'd be a riddle.
I raise my right hand, but
and then
your left.
Yeah, at the bottom, it would give you like 3 different potential riddle answers and say if you answer riddle answer number 1, go to page 10. Or if you answer riddle number 2, go to page. If your answer is this answer, go to page 20.
Shadowgate was different though. You actually had to have an item and give it to the Sphinx.
Yeah, that's why it's a much more complex Choose Your Own Adventure where instead of just having a few choices and you go to those pages, you have a lot of choices and most of them are death. And you can actually use some sort of twisted Nintendo logic to maybe figure it out.
See, oh God, I just realized I don't think we've ever properly explained the phrase Nintendo logic.
Nintendo logic. Let's see. Let's think of some real world examples instead of some made up examples.
Well, Nintendo logic is if the in video games, especially for NES gamers, like a kid who's 9 years old who's been playing NES games, there are solutions to problems that to a kid like that makes perfect sense, but to any other human being are just ludicrous and just crazy. Shadowgate is probably the most perfect example of that. I mean, all right, there's a lake and there's a skeleton in it holding a key, and there's an island on the other end, and you can't go in the water, the skeleton, shark, whatever gets you. Well, obviously, I throw this glass sphere I found into the lake, thereby freezing it. I mean, that obviously. Or
that makes so much sense.
I'm a plumber, right? Mushrooms make me big, duh. Or Maniac Mansion was really good about that too.
Yeah. So anytime there's, a puzzle or of some sort and it's solved by something that makes no sense whatsoever, that's what we call Nintendo logic. Like, yeah, throwing the banana over the top of the house is totally the only way to unlock the front door, or, something crazy like that. Where it makes sense within the context of this wacky video game, usually an adventure game. But in the real world, it makes no sense.
I think partly it was just a suspension of disbelief. As a kid, I wouldn't even think, that doesn't make sense. I'd think, yeah, I got it.
Like, hey, here's an example, and I need to get across this water. I know, I'll give the monkey a banana, and he'll build a bridge for me.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
Right, but this game is probably the core of all Nintendo logic, because the game is mostly trial and error, and for a lot of it, if you're clever, you can figure it out.
For example, there's a part where you go into a room and it says the room's getting hot, and there's a bunch of treasure in the room and you want all of it.
And there's a dragon staring at you.
Well, you don't see it.
Yes, you do.
You don't know it's a dragon. You see eyes.
All right, you see a very scary looking thing.
It's obviously a dragon because it's hot and it smells like brimstone, and you see eyes looking at you through the wall. And you know there's a dragon going to breathe fire on you. And you know that there's a bunch of treasure in here that you want, but you don't want to die, as is going to happen in this game. And one of the treasures is shield. If you pick up the shield first, the dragon will breathe fire, and then you'll have a bit of time after the shield melts to get some treasure before running away.
Or like, in early part of the game, you learn spells, and the spells are all words. The first spell you learn is from a sign on the wall, and if you look at the sign a few times, you learn the spell. And the spell is Epor. And there's a coil or rope laying there. And sure, lo and behold, if you cast that spell in that room, that rope does something.
It's like that stupid DC superhero chick who says magic spells backwards and they happen.
Oh, what the hell's her name?
I don't know.
Whatever.
Because it's a stupid underwear pervert.
It's a stupid superhero and a stupid power and a stupid set of comics, but I digress.
But in Shadowgate, not so stupid.
But seriously, other than that, a lot of the stuff is just fucking random. Some of it's common sense. Like, for the longest time, I never thought of this, but there's a point where you come into a room, like a field, a courtyard, and there's a Cyclops, and if you try to get past him, he kills you. And if you try to, like, stab him or something with the sword you've got, he kills you.
Because he's a big Cyclops and you're just a punk.
But if you use the sling and you have a rock in the sling, you knock him out. All right. And I have like 5 rocks, so I go past him. Later, I got to come back through that area. He's awake. Shit. I use my sling again. I come back later. He's awake. Shit. I'm running out of rocks, and there's a limited number of rocks in the game. One day, I realized, wait a minute. After he's knocked out, what if I stab him then? And sure enough, it says, you stab the Cyclops, it dies bleeding into the ground, blah, blah, blah. And then it never bothers you again.
Yep. But if you don't figure that out, you can only go through there 5 times. You don't need to go through there 5 times to beat the game, by the way.
Yeah, unless you really suck at the Sphinx riddles.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, the thing is, the game has a plot, I guess, technically.
Oh, I know the plot. Because remember, I read the novelization of that game.
Oh, wow. The plot is like, you're the prince, I think, or something?
Yeah, you're going to Castle Shadowgate to stop the evil wizard who's going to summon the blah, blah, blah that's going to destroy the world or something.
And the king is fucked or something, and you're going to be the new king. So you go around getting, like, the king's treasure, and then you find the dead king, and you take his ring and his staff, or you use the king's stuff to open the final door in the game. And then you go through and there's the evil wizard, and then he summons the big monster that looks like Godzilla, and you have to kill it.
I'd say about a third of the puzzles can be solved by being smart. A third of them can be solved by bizarro fucking Nintendo logic. And a third of them are missed puzzles.
Yeah.
Like, God, the worst one, the only part of the game I actually looked up how to beat. There's a part where there's this room with 3 levers. Okay. And you can kind of manipulate them just randomly. If you think back to way, way back in the game, in the room where the Sphinx is sitting, there's a stairway that goes up. And behind the Sphinx, on the stairway, is a bunch of lines kind of etched into it. And it looks like background whatever. You wouldn't even think to look there. It turns out that's the pattern in which you have to move all the levers in order to make the thing happen.
Completely unrelated, completely far away. Not in any way would you make a connection between that and the levers.
Now that's why I hated Myst, because almost all of Myst was bullshit like that. But
Yeah, it's like, hey, what do I do here? Well, if you had bothered to look at, the way the chlorophyll was shaped on a leaf on the other side of the board that is in no way connected to this, you would know that the correct pattern to place those things is, CDQBRXV something.
And I mean, I honestly, despite the fact that the game is bad in a lot of gameplay regards, it is really fun to play.
Well, the thing about this game is that what it lacks in, I guess, good adventuring, it makes up for in charm. I mean, the music is cool.
The music's awesome. This game has some of the better Nintendo music.
Yeah, the music rocks. You walk around while all this stuff, the game itself is kind of silly. A lot of the stuff is kind of cute. Like you see a nice skeleton, or there's like a shark in the water, and this stuff is just it's got a good like feeling to it of like sort of like a happy, cool, crazy, kooky dungeon full of kooky stuff.
Of course, at the same time, you start to, I mean, early in the game, anytime you see something like, ooh, and you start poking and prodding and using stuff, and the game trains you the same way people who don't understand puppies train puppies, by hitting you in the face with a newspaper all the time. Death, death, death. So once you get, like, there's a point where you get to, like, the second part
Even
of the
the
game.
most benign actions will result in death. Hey, why don't I try using this on that? Okay, it does nothing. Why don't I try using this on that? It does nothing. I'll try using this on that. Death for no reason.
When you get, like, to the second part of the game, where now you're in, like, this mansion, and you gotta, like, go get a lightning rod and put it up and get lightning to strike it by casting a spell, to get the book, to get the glasses, to read the other book, to learn the spell, that part of the game is really hard and difficult to do. But, you start to get really paranoid, and anytime you enter a new room, you sit there thinking, don't touch anything, don't touch anything, don't look at anything, don't do anything, oh shit.
Looking usually won't get you killed.
Yeah, but doing anything, dead.
Moving can get you killed. Like there are some doors that if you just go in the door, you die. There are some doors if you open them, you die. There's some like sometimes the game will give you a choice of like 2 or 3 ways to go. If you choose the wrong way, you die. You just have to figure it out. And it sucks.
It helps that the flavor text is really funny. The game rewards stupidity.
Depending on when every different death sort of has different flavor text. Mostly.
Yeah, almost all of it does. Very few of them don't. You can also kill yourself, set yourself on fire.
You could be like, use torch on self. Oh, God.
Oh, and there's like a bunch of different potions. Potion 1, Potion 2, Potion 3, Potion 4. I think with one exception, they're all poison.
Way to go.
A lot of items in that game are just fucking nothing. They'll just kill you if you use them.
Yeah, it is one. I do like that when games give you stuff in your inventory that's just not necessary. It's sort of like when someone's trying to solve a riddle and you give them a bunch of extra information that doesn't actually mean anything and it throws them way off course. It's like, hey, sort of like Petals Around the Rose. The reason that's so hard is all the extra information that's not necessary.
Oh man, I taught that game to Emily's dad, and it's really bugging him, and he wants to solve it. Like,
well,
in a
I just
bad
gave him
way.
a hint that there's a bunch of extra information there that you don't need to look at.
I don't think he listens to our show regularly.
Oh well, guess that's his loss. Anything else to say about Shadowgate?
I don't know. It kind of gives me this feeling of exploring. Like, while the game is weird and fucked up, every screen is really interesting. And the way you interact with a lot of things is really interesting. And if nothing else, I think of it as an exploration game, and I'm exploring this screwed up world, and I don't care if I beat the game, because that's really hard, but like getting some weird item and using it on something and making something happen and seeing a new screen with a weird graphic is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at pictures of all the screens would be enough. Plus the flavor text also.
Yeah, so I didn't find a video of a bunch of deaths from the game, but I found that speedrun. If you want to play the game, though, don't watch much of the speedrun or you're not going to be able to play the game and enjoy it.
Yeah, just get the ROM or whatever, because I think that's the only way to get this game nowadays. And don't play any other versions of it. Don't play like sequels or 64 versions or anything.
Though, do play Deja Vu, because it is overall a much better game.
Yeah, Deja Vu is the same kind of game, only better, and it's sort of like...
Well, one, it's right up our alley. It's like 2030s gangsters something, mafia something, film noir something, really cool theme, the characters are cool, and most of the puzzles you can figure out by being smart and by reading text and not just random death.
Most of them, anyway. And there is a plot. There's only a couple arbitrary things in Deja Vu, but like exactly how you end the game is not immediately obvious.
Yeah, but you figure that out if you're not an idiot.
Yeah, I figured it out eventually.
If you don't figure it out, that means you didn't understand the plot yet. Once you figure out the plot, you're like, oh.
It's not so easy to understand the plot. It like gives you everything you need, but it doesn't fill in all the blanks. You sort of have to fill in some on your own.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
It's okay. It's not the best either, but it's better than Shadowgate.
The only real problem with Deja Vu is that you can totally fuck yourself. The first time I got to the end of the game, I went to the bungalow. I got all the shit.
You didn't have enough money to get back in the cab?
I didn't have any more quarters, so I couldn't take the cab back. But I had a $20 bill. But the cabbie wouldn't give me change, and it wouldn't just let me give him the 20 and not take change. And if I tried to leave the cab, he called the cops. And if I tried to shoot him, he called the cops.
Yep.
Yeah. Granted, I was very satisfied when I found the people who did this to me. Instead of, getting the evidence and calling the cops, I just shot them both in their beds. And then the cops came and took me away, but whatever. I got revenge.
That's not how you end the game.
You can end the game that way.
That's a losing end.
You see, there's a bunch of different ends, and I feel like that's a victory in a way.
It's a losing end.
It's kind of like the weak ending in Simon's Quest.
No, it's also a losing end. There's only one good ending in Deja Vu. The correct the one that lets you see the credits. That's the real ending.
All right, I think we're done. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.